Amazon. Flash briefing. Find your happy
Jamie,
place.
here's your flash briefing. In NPR News.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. Congress has passed a short-term spending bill that keeps the government funded for another week.
Of course
this will
they
give
did.
negotiators time to
Bastards.
wrap up talks on a longer-term funding bill. Meanwhile, Republican leaders are cheering a repeal of the COVID vaccine mandate for members of the military. From member station WPLN, Blake Farmer reports the provision was included in the final version of the defense spending bill expected to be signed by President Biden.
So they were including all kinds of crap in there, and they
COVID
just passed
vaccine
it through.
requirements for months. Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn says it's hurt recruiting, while scores of active duty service members have been fired for refusing the shot.
While attention will be given in the future to provide back pay and look at benefits for those that were fired by Joe Biden, we've secured a major win for our nation.
An amendment to reinstate those service members failed. Even some Democrats who've been more supportive of vaccine requirements say COVID shots are not as critical for soldiers as they once were. The White House has continued to support the mandate. For NPR News, I'm Blake Farmer in Nashville.
The House January 6th committee will meet Monday, and lawmakers hope to share information from their final report. The chairman has said the committee is likely to make criminal referrals to the Justice Department for prosecution. A winter storm is still hitting the upper Northwest. The National Weather Service has declared blizzard conditions in the Dakotas and parts of Nebraska and Montana. Wind gusts of up to 50 miles per hour are expected. Chris Butchen is visiting Fargo, North Dakota, and says the snow is piled high.
Snowdrifts are crazy. I mean, getting knee deep in the snowdrifts and then feeling the wind.
He spoke to WDAY TV. More winter storm warnings are up in the Northeast as a winter storm pulls away from the U.S. The same storm system launched dozens of tornadoes across the South this week.
Great.
3
Blizzards,
people were
tornadoes.
killed by tornadoes in Louisiana. Stocks opened mostly lower this morning
They're
after a
coming
big
for Congress.
sell-off on Thursday.
Not really.
NPR's Scott Horsley reports the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell about 240 points in early trading.
Investors have been rattled by reports showing a slowdown in both retail spending and manufacturing last month. Spending on big-ticket items like cars and furniture suffered the biggest drop, suggesting rising interest rates are having an effect. The Biden administration is expanding its list of Chinese companies barred from making high-tech purchases from the United States. The administration added 36 Chinese firms to the blacklist on grounds of national security. Developing countries in Asia are burning more coal, even as many advanced economies burn less in an effort to fight climate change. The International Energy Agency says worldwide coal use hit a record high this year, topping the previous record 9 years ago. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
On Wall Street, the Dow is
So
now
they
down
just mentioned that the
239
people are
points.
spending
The
less,
Nasdaq is down
but the federal
36.
government
It's
is funding
NPR.
themselves some more so they don't shut
Ukrainian officials say Russia has launched at least 70 more missiles this morning. At least 3 of them hit the capital,
There's
Kyiv.
no way that system
Another
can
missile
tell.
struck a residential building in southern
People
Ukraine.
spending less money,
Russia has
people
been
taking more
targeting
money from
power
them. Yeah,
stations to
that's
cut
never
heat
been wrong
and water
idea,
to
right?
Ukrainian civilians struggling with the cold. A cholera outbreak has been declared in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo. Fighting between militias and DRC government forces has displaced tens of thousands of people. Ish Mafundikwa reports 4 cholera deaths have been confirmed among 600
Cholera.
diagnosed cases.
Non-governmental organizations say the figures could be much higher. Earlier this week, the UN said Doctors Without Borders, the French humanitarian group, had treated 472 patients in 2 weeks at a treatment center near Goma, the regional capital. Almost a third of the patients were children under 5. Doctors Without Borders DRC says a lack of food, shelter, and bathrooms in camps for the internally displaced adds up to a perfect setting for a health disaster. According to the World Health Organization, cholera is an acute diarrheal illness caused by the consumption of contaminated food or water, and the global vaccine stockpile is low.
No bueno.
For NPR News, I am Ish Mafundikwa in Harare.
In Malaysia, a landslide has killed at least 18
and
people who were spending the night at a tourist campground north of the capital, Kuala Lumpur. Several people are missing. I'm Corva Coleman, NPR News in
Give them some of
Washington.
them zero gravity filters.
Hi, I'm Daniel Alarcon, host of NPR's Spanish
Amazon.
Language Podcast.
Skip.
In NASA News. A satellite built for NASA and the French space agency Centre National d'Etudes Spatiales, CNES, to observe nearly all the water on our planet's surface lifted off on its way to low Earth orbit at 3:46 a.m. PST
Oh
on
boy, they're
Friday.
looking for ocean activity.
NASA has selected Northrop Grumman Systems Corporation of Redondo Beach, California, to support the James Webb Space Telescope Phase E operations and sustainment contract. NASA and AST and Science, a subsidiary of AST Space Mobile Incorporated, have signed a joint agreement to formalize both parties' strong interest in the sharing of information to maintain and improve space safety. 2022 is one for the history books as NASA caps off another astronomical year. NASA's Orion spacecraft splashed down in the Pacific Ocean west of Baja California at 9:39 a.m. PST Sunday after a record-breaking mission, traveling more than 1.4 million miles on a path around the moon and returning safely to Earth, completing the Artemis I flight test. In weather. Currently, in Seattle, it's 32 degrees Fahrenheit with fog. Today, you can expect intermittent clouds, with a high of 43 degrees and a low of 32
Well,
degrees.
just so you know, I
From
didn't see
NASA.
no fog.
A satellite built for NASA and the French space agency Centre National d'Etudes Spatiales, CNES, to observe
right
nearly
before the
all the
sun
water
started
on our
peaking.
planet's surface lifted off on its way to low Earth orbit at 3:46 a.m. PST on
Alright,
Friday.
Amazon. Off.
NASA has selected Northrop
Amazon.
Grumman Systems.
Off. Amazon, tell us a joke.
The holiday sweater is so ugly. Santa put it on the naughty list.
Ouch. Poor sweater on the naughty list. Alright. Have a great day. Hey, look, I shrunk. Not really. I'm too tall.